spoke to Julie, my best friend, and I said that I think it's happening again. And she said, I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you felt that you could say that and that you admitted it. She's like, admitting it is half the battle. The other half, you'll always be fighting probably, you know? It's been hard because you're dealing with how you view yourself.
Yeah.
And your self-worth. It's like an old operating system that doesn't work anymore. You have to get rid of it. It's this old voice that's saying your worth is tied up in how you look. And the smaller you are, the better it is.
Well, welcome to today's episode of BeBelle podcast. This is actually a part 2 and the first time ever that we've invited back a previous guest. But so much has happened in this person's story over the last 5 years, I could not do it. Finding out, obviously, that being diagnosed with early set Parkinson's, obviously Annmarie's world changed. And she spoke to me today so honestly about the grief, about putting pen to paper, about learning about dopamine. We spoke about the gut. She covered everything, actually. She really did. And she certainly is helping people, a lot of people. She's just a phenomenal lady. Super proud to have her back. Super proud to call her a friend. This is Annmarie O'Connor. Annmarie, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, actually, should I say welcome back?
Welcome back.
I'm really excited. So for anyone that doesn't know or hasn't gone back to the beginning of BeBelle, Annmarie was actually on Series 1, Episode 14, back in October 2019.
No, pre-COVID.
So much has happened in between. And we were talking about bringing guests back. I think I was saying to you before, someone had actually rang me and said, I'd love to come back on, Sean. So much has happened in 5 years. And I said, if someone's coming back, it's Annmarie.
Oh, thank you.
So I am delighted to have you here. So let's go back to 2019 when we last spoke, and we'd covered everything about your growing up in Inishbofin, and actually since then I've met, I think, all of your sisters now.
Yeah, you did.
I have. We bump into each other all over the shop. So we have that part of your life, but so much has happened since then.
So much has happened. I'll take you back to, well, we'll give COVID a miss because we all know what happened there. But I developed Parkinson's disease since very shortly after I'd seen you. So it would have been less than a year because I was on October 2019 and I got my first symptoms of Parkinson's disease that I know of in September 2020. So for those who aren't familiar with Parkinson's disease, it's a progressive neurodegenerative disease. It's basically due to a lack of dopamine in the brain. So by the time you start experiencing symptoms, you've lost 60 to 80% of the neurons that produce dopamine in your body. So dopamine, we normally think of it as the reward drug. So, you know, the high that you get from scrolling on social media.
Or going for a run.
Or falling in love, or, you know, having a glass of wine.
White wine,
up to no good,
rosé on a Friday.
Yeah, exactly. But it's far more... it's far more responsible than that. It's responsible for mood, motivation, cognition. It is responsible for so many functions in the body. I was just unprepared for just how vast the repertoire for dopamine is. I mean, it controls everything from your GI tract to your ability to swallow, to, you know, for some people, their eyesight is affected. There are 40 symptoms, motor and non-motor. So for the main kind of symptoms that people normally start feeling would be slowness, stiffness, rigidity, tremor. So for me, my first symptom was there was a brief respite in lockdown, and I was able to work on photo shoots. So after months of not earning anything, I was like, sign me up.
So no, it doesn't matter where it is.
It doesn't matter where it is. So I did about 2 in a row. And I woke up one morning and I had an awful thud, like a really, really bad pain in my shoulder, and it was unusual. And I just thought, oh, it's just my muscles waking up from like months of not
doing anything.
not doing anything. And I thought, you know what it's like when you're styling a photo shoot, it's all lugging bags of clothes here and there. So I thought I must just tweak something. And I took 2 aspirin. I didn't think anything of it. And about 2 weeks later, I had to come to Jesus moment. I was lying on my bed debating whether I was going to cut off my bra or wear it into the shower because I couldn't actually unclasp my bra. So the stiffness and the rigidity in my shoulder got so bad, I couldn't lift my arm over my head without being in excruciating pain, let alone unclasp my bra.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, I started to experience on my right side of my body, like a flutter in my fingers, which kind of, I say I wrote a book subsequent to that called
Twitch.
My memoir.
Here. I'm taking it on holiday next week. I shall tell you all about it.
So I said it was like the flutter of a butterfly's wings, almost imperceptible, except it wasn't. I noticed it. And so day after day, it would get increase in amplitude until it became a steady shake, kind of with a wave-like rhythm. And I called my sister Margaret because I got worried. I was like, oh my God, this is not like I was living alone during COVID. I was also perimenopausal. That just kicked in. So I was getting night sweats. My hair was falling out. I was stressed out from having no money, from not working. And now I have this twitch. So Margaret said to me, look, she's the woman who starts every sentence with, I'm no medic, but. So this is her time to shine. She goes, look, I'm no medic, Annmarie, but this sounds like a trapped nerve. Don't worry about it. Promise me you'll see your GP when COVID restrictions lift. And which sounded like the punchline to a bad joke because we all know how long it went on. Because we went from a brief respite back into lockdown level 5 for several months, and it was March. So that was November. So it started around September. So September to November when things started really escalating. And
was it all down one side?
Because Parkinson's starts on the one side.
Okay.
And then when it progresses, it goes bilateral.
Okay.
You know, not with everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone's in, they call it the boutique disease because everyone's experience is different.
Right.
And I thought if anyone's going to get the boutique disease, it may as well be a fashion editor.
Absolutely.
But all joking aside, I'd gone to see my GP in March when the restrictions lifted. So between March 2021 at this stage.
Yeah.
And December 2021, I had 3 MRIs. And because of the pressure on the healthcare system, getting an MRI and getting a result of an MRI was like, you know, it's trying to find hen's teeth, you know? So anyhow, I got the shoulder MRI, which ruled out the trapped nerve because that came out clear. Then I got a neck and spine MRI, which came out clear, and a brain MRI, which came out clear, right? So during this period of time, my sister Patricia would often come down to visit me. And it was great having that objective soundboard and someone to see what was happening from the outside.
Gotcha.
Because you often don't see what's happening when you're in the middle of it. It's hard for you to be objective, even about yourself when your body is shaking.
Yeah.
So during this period of time, I had restless legs that had gotten worse. Pain. People don't realize the amount of pain that you suffer with Parkinson's due to the stiffness and the rigidity. I would have muscular spasms in my feet that would cause my toes to twist and make these weird shapes. Stabbing pains up my soul that would only be alleviated by walking on them.
Okay.
And when you walk on that, it's pain. It's pain like no other. It would just leave me in tears. And then my legs started dragging. And Patricia's going, Annmarie, you're dragging your legs. I'm like, no, I'm not. And she goes, I said, it's probably just, I had a pair of espadrilles on. I was like, it's probably just this heel. And she's like, no, you're dragging your leg. I can see it. It's your right leg. It's dragging. And, you know, you're at this stage, my tremor had gotten worse. It had gone up my arm and it was quite aggressive. So it was no longer that gentle kind of wave-like rhythm. And there was various small other kind of symptoms
Yeah.
in between. But those would have just been the main ones. And then we'll just jump forward to around December, just before I got my brain scan. Those 2 weeks before, that's when everything really came to a crescendo. My right hand twisted inwards like this, and I couldn't brush my teeth. I found it hard to like even put on mascara.
And it just locked in.
It was like this. It was
Yes.
like,
So
yeah,
your bent elbow and
yeah.
hand to chest almost.
Hand to chest, yeah.
Yeah.
So couldn't put on mascara, which is like a hate crime. And I couldn't write Christmas cards. Now, this was separate. I was trying to, like, my handwriting had gotten really small and cramped. So everything with Parkinson's gets smaller.
Diluted.
Gets smaller. And that's why like in my head, I always associated it with the elderly man, you know, the stoop, shake and shuffle.
Yeah.
So I told my doctor this when she called me to report that the brain scan had come back clear. And she said, that's worrying. She goes, the math isn't mathing. She goes, I'm going to send you to CUH, acute medical unit, tomorrow morning. You'll be there from 9 till about 5. Bring a book and you'll see a couple of doctors, a nurse, you know. Basically, by the end of the day, they should find some determination. And she was right. I'd seen a doctor, several doctors, a nurse, had my bloods taken, told my origin story, my symptoms several times. And then I met the man who'd be my consultant neurologist, who did a few tests, and straight away he just knew what it was. He's like, you have early onset Parkinson's disease. And I was like, excuse me? Like,
Yeah.
what? It was the last thing I ever expected because, like I said, I didn't know anything about Parkinson's. I thought Parkinson's was the kind of the sole remit of like I said, the elderly man. I only knew of Michael J. Fox.
As most people do.
And aside from that, I knew nothing. So I got a crash course in what dopamine was and how it affected my body. And it's funny, he said, even the short time that I've been standing here with you, I see how you put your hands underneath your arms or put your hands in your pockets, all these stratagems that I had learned over the past couple of months because to try and control it in public. And I said to him, it was just weirdly enough, before we got into any more detail, I said, can I ask you a question? I said, why did my brain scan come back clear if I had Parkinson's? And he said, Parkinson's doesn't always appear on an MRI because it's a couple of millimeters below what the camera picks up. So you have something called a DAT scan, which is used. I got mine several months after my diagnosis. It's used to rule out anything that isn't Parkinson's. Parkinson's is a clinical diagnosis. Okay. So as yet, they don't have like, if it's correct to say biomarker, it's, you know, you have to be trained into identifying what Parkinson's is. There are also things that are similar to Parkinson's or like Parkinson's cousins, but they're not Parkinson's. So with a DAT scan, one of them is like essential tremor. Essential tremor is a shake in your hand, but it's not it's not Parkinson's. It doesn't have, it begins and ends at the shake in your hand, you know?
Wow.
So that would be essential tremor. So for example, if you got a DAT scan, it could rule out anything like essential tremor or any Parkinson's adjacent, you know, pretenders to the throne. But ultimately it is a clinical diagnosis.
Okay. And did he explain, like, is it like, I don't know much about Parkinson's either. Is it hereditary? Is it
it's
like
a mix?
No,
it's genetic, it's genetic. It's also, what's the word I'm looking for now? I've just had a moment.
Genetic.
It's environmental.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So. It's, you know, you get tested. I got tested. Mine isn't genetic. Yeah. So, and they can't, you know, as with everything, because, you know, your parents are, like, my father is dead. And like, you know, if a member of your family has passed, then they, they can only, it's funny when you get things back, they say, they rule out certain things, but there's like a language that they have. In other words, it's almost like legalese.
Yes.
Like, you know.
We don't know.
But we assume.
Yes.
Because you never, there's never, I suppose, a definitive answer, really.
Okay.
Even in medicine, like Parkinson's, they still don't know what causes. Like they still, no, I shouldn't say they don't know what causes it. They don't have it's as yet incurable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so much research that has gone into Parkinson's, and it's still, the brain is so elusive.
Yes.
You know, and people say it's a neurological disorder, but it starts in, like, people believe that it's got a very strong connection to the gut. And one of the biggest preclinical symptoms of Parkinson's is constipation. And if you are taking your medication in an oral form, tablet-wise, and you suffer from constipation, and then your medication is making you more constipated, then you're not absorbing the you know. So there's it doesn't, it's funny, you get a diagnosis and you say, okay, I have an answer, but now I have 101 new questions. You know, and it really is something that the more I know about Parkinson's, the less I think I know. The less I know myself, I believe that I know, because it's a shapeshifter. Like, your symptoms can change. You know, you can feel great one day and the next day you can feel terrible. You know, there's no consistency with Parkinson's, and it always winds up winning, you know? So, like, I really believe that the best advice that I had gotten was about taking, I'm very self-actualized anyhow, and I do believe in taking responsibility for my health. But I remember when I was first diagnosed, my auntie put me in contact with a friend of hers, her best friend, who happens to be the chairperson of the Galway branch of Parkinson's Ireland. And she had a chat with me, and she was saying, what you need to get is your medication right. That could take ages. Mine took 13 months before we found the sweet spot. And then after that, there's just a lot of, it's regular tweaking, because, you know, your body evolves, your body changes, especially I'm a postmenopausal woman now. So, like, everything, you know, your hormones have a huge effect on. In particular, at the time when I was perimenopausal and I still had a period, I can say that. Sorry. Yeah.
Period?
Yeah.
Say period all day long, girl. Period.
I'm like, I've been talking about constipation periods. It's like,
listen, that's my life.
TMI, you're very welcome. Thanks for joining us.
I think we should talk periods all day long.
So when I had a period, there were times that I would get spikes in my symptoms and I didn't know why. And I spoke to the nurse in Parkinson's Ireland, which is it's a charity.
Yes.
National charity. They're absolutely amazing. And Lisa, the nurse, had said to me, "Oh, Annmarie, the research around the periods, that, you know, when estrogen declines, it eats into your dopamine, and your dopamine is already low. So that means that your tremor is going to get more, is going to get worse." And I was like, that is a revelation. And just having that information to hand.
Information is so important, and it does give us power, because it helps us to understand better.
And I was able then to go on HRT, because my cycle was wonky. It was like come every 7 to 17 days.
Yeah.
Got it back on 28 days. Then I was able to say, okay, day 26, 25, 26, and 27 are when things get a bit janky. So I can kind of change my schedule around. Work freelance, so that it's a bit lighter on those days. And I remember Marie, my auntie's friend, had said, get your medication right. Once you get your medication right and you know what's happening in your body, you know, you've got to look at your hydration. You've got to look at your food. Sleep is so important. Sleep is huge component, as is exercise. Exercise is the one thing that is known to slow the progression of Parkinson's, and it's free, and you don't have to take medication. You know, there's no prescription. Get out there and walk, and it's just like, I'm allergic to exercise. I am not great.
But you've always been a great walker.
I've always been a great walker.
Yeah.
I could walk. I can walk from here to kingdom come. I love walking. So I'm like, if I get in my 10,000 steps a day, I'm happy. And it makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference. And these are just some basic things just to get, because I think what happens is when you get a diagnosis, you want to do everything. All of a sudden you're like, I want to save the world. I want to do fundraising. I want to join like a support group. I want to do this. And, you know, the thing is, it's like, get your own side of the road.
Well, I was going to say first, because I was going to take you back to the diagnosis, because actually not everybody thinks like that. And I've spoken to lots of people that have had different diagnoses for different, you know, different things in their life. And some people have dealt with it in a, I don't know what to do with myself and lock myself away for a period of time. And some people, I know I'd probably similar to you personality type wise, of that, okay, what am I going to do then to make sure that I'm in the best position to help everybody and make a change and start advocating, because I always need a purpose, and you are that purpose woman.
Yeah.
So actually not everybody thinks like you, but you did think that way. And I want to know, you've answered my question really, but because I think when you get a diagnosis, it's not always that answer. But and you made a decision.
Mine wasn't straight away, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think the first couple of months I was dealing with the practicalities of things. And then it was when the invitations started coming in, because we were emerging, that was the word, from COVID.
Yes.
And so people still had one foot inside the house, one foot outside. Not everyone felt as free about going out, and not everyone wanted to, because it's funny. It's like you're inside for so long. It's like someone opens the door and you're like, well, I'm so used to being inside. I don't know how to be any other way.
Yeah.
But I used it almost as an excuse, because I was getting, as a fashion editor, I was getting invitations again to go to, you know, various events. And I was afraid to turn up on my own with, even though the medication helps my symptoms, my tremor can still have its moments. And, you know, it always is activated by stress as well. So the more stressed you are, the more it will act up.
Yes.
So if I like walked on my own without a +1 into one of these events, which you often have to do because you don't get a +1, and you haven't seen people for a while, and I've been living in Cork, and you know, you have to be the one to come up to people. It takes a lot. It does take fortitude and a lot of mental strength. And I was declining because I wasn't ready to RSVP with Parkinson's as a +1.
Okay.
So then I said, well, Annmarie, why should you hide? And, you know, why should anyone hide? And isn't this the point that like visibility is the only way that we reduce the stigma? In particular, there's a huge amount of stigma surrounding Parkinson's because...
Why do you think that is? It, I think possibly it's lack of understanding.
Lack of understanding. Yeah. And, you know, people see, you know, there are people who have to use walkers. There are people who have to... Like my tremor can start, like I get something called dyskinesia in my shoulder, which is a result of the medication. And so my hand will start shaking, and then my shoulder starts going like this. And, you know, some people who, if they're not used to, you know, you're around your family and friends, they don't notice it anymore. And then some people just like will stare. You know, or if you're at the till and you're trying to get your card out, thank God for tapping.
Oh yeah, we love the tap.
Love the tap. Because when I was trying to reef out my credit card from the bowels of my bag.
And then the little buttons.
And, you know, anything like fine motor skills and me don't get, you know, we don't get on too well. And it could be like just before you're due your next dose of medication, and it could be wearing off.
Yes.
And you know, your tremor could be worse. Tremor is just one example. Some people lose their voice, And they find it very hard to articulate. So I know a lot of people who go to speech and language classes several hours a week just to be heard, just to be understood by people. And that must be really hard.
Yeah.
And people don't understand you.
Very different. My uncle had Parkinson's and he was a professor and published a lot of books like yourself. And I know that's the piece that he found very difficult is his voice.
Yes.
Because he had been, you know, a reference to so many people for such a long time. He was a historian as well. So that was the difficult piece for him.
Yeah.
But he continued to write and he would send... Unfortunately, he got dementia later in life, but he'd send the articles to people. Do you know what I mean? And which kept him alive. But I know that was the difficult piece for him, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Because when you've got something to say, you want to say it.
Yeah, especially if it's part of your identity.
Yeah.
The identity is only something, when I started writing Twitch, the grief part really started coming to the fore. And the identity, because I gave up styling because of the fatigue is another huge energy management takes up a lot of my time. I have to be very clear on how I spend my time and with whom and what I give my attention to work-wise. And styling, I just thought, okay, how much longevity is left in this? And I just knew because I'd come back from a press trip and I had a photo shoot shortly thereafter. This was a couple of months after being diagnosed. And I thought I could go back to my old life. It was just a question of taking a couple of tablets and I'd be fine. I was so wrong.
Okay.
And then Parkinson's calls the shots 100%. So I got back from the trip and I think within 48 hours I had to do, I was up in Dublin doing another photo shoot, and I'll never forget, it was just like the weather was god awful. It was sideways rain and it was just stormy. It was horrible. The model was being blown
all over the shop.
All over the shop. She was practically blue. And I got back home to Cork and I spent a week on the sofa. Like I was just absolutely exhausted. And
so when did the idea for Twitch come about? This episode is brought to you by Skin Formulas, an Irish skincare brand created by skin experts and trusted by thousands of customers and skin clinics. Built on science, results, and a deep understanding for skin health, Skin Formulas is designed to help you feel confident in your skin. If you want to know more, then go to www.skinformulas.ie.
That got greenlit December 2024. December 2024. And I started writing it in January 2025. And I submitted it in October.
And that grief bit that you're speaking about, the grief of the life that was, should be.
Yeah, it's the person that you were.
Yeah.
The identity that was, you know, Annmarie O'Connor, the fashion editor, and, you know, the fashion stylist. And it's like, okay, you're shedding that old kind of version of you and you're stepping into a new you. But there's a lot of grief attached to that, in particular, if you're not ready, you know. And also, it's like watching your body change. Like I said, before we got the medication right, I was suffering hugely from insomnia because my legs were so restless that it was, and painful. The pain was excruciating sometimes. And between that and my tremor, my body was constantly in movement.
Reacting.
And I would rarely get a full night's sleep. So I get maybe 3 to 5 hours and I might get a nap somewhere along the day. And I was just looking wrecked, you know, and you just look at yourself and go, what's happened?
Yeah.
You know, and you don't know how long this is going to go on for. And then I got new medication and that was, it was amazing. Within 48 hours, everything stopped.
Wow.
But then what happened was it killed my appetite. and it kind of crossed paths with it woke up a sleeping giant. I had disordered eating patterns when I was in my 20s,
Yeah.
which, never really went away. I never really dealt with it. And I think they were just dormant. So it's funny. It's never just a diagnosis. It kind of, it hits on, it brings up the past, the present, and the future.
Yeah.
People are thinking, oh my God, this has happened to me in this moment. What am I going to do for work? Or what am I going to do in the future? And then the past comes in and says, well, let me get in on the gig,
Yeah.
So it's anything you haven't dealt with, you need to deal with, whether it's.
And how have you dealt with that?
I'm still dealing with it.
Yeah.
It's just, you know what it was? It was putting it in pen to paper and saying it. It was my sister would say to me, you've gotten too thin. And what happened was, it wasn't, I had, because it genuinely had killed my appetite.
Yes.
I wasn't able, I wanted to eat, but until I didn't want to eat, until I saw how much weight I lost. And then it was that voice in the back of my head going, oh, you like this. And I leaned into it, if I'm being honest, and my friend who knew me in college when this was happening was like, she said, I think you're getting too thin. And I was like, oh, it's just a medication. It's just a medication.
I did notice it. I did, but I thought it was part of Parkinson's. And I think
it can be, because sometimes people find it hard to chew, and but with me, it was definitely like I said, it was the medication, but it was like it woke up a sleeping giant, like I said, and so I had to have I spoke to Julie, my best friend, and I said, I think it's. Yeah, you're right. And I said, I think it's happening again. And she said, I'm so glad you said that. So glad you felt that you could say that and that you admitted it. She's like, admitting it is half the battle. The other half you'll always be fighting, probably, But yeah, it's been hard because you're dealing with how you view yourself, and your self-worth, and you're dealing with an old version. It's like an old operating system that doesn't work anymore. You have to get rid of it. It's this old voice that's saying your worth is tied up in how you look. And the smaller you are, the better it is. And that just isn't how, and I know, practically speaking, that isn't how I feel. And I'm always the first one to tell people, we're all goddesses. Treat yourself,
Yeah.
But then I have to, I've gained the weight back and a bit more. And I've had to be comfortable in that.
Well, when I picked you up today, you looked phenomenal. Like you really did. You looked healthy, happy, joyous. Do you know what I mean? Actually, somebody sent me a text the other night. I was asking people where I should go on holiday, and they said, oh, you should go to this place. And I said, oh, I'm not mad on that place. And she replied, oh, but Sian, the style. And I replied, I've never done style. I just do people.
Yeah.
And she actually rang me. She didn't text me back. And I was like, it's never been for me. Do you know what I mean? In fact, a lot of my friends, I do sit sometimes and go, how are we friends?
Yeah.
How are we friends? You're so stylish. And I just rock up in my tracksuit. But it's just, I do people.
But I think it's taught me a lot about, I felt sorry for that old version of me.
Okay.
I felt sorry for her. I'm like, you're such, you have so much going. I wanted to hug that earlier version of me and say, you have far more to give to the world. And don't let anyone tell you your worth. Because I used to have, people saying, oh, you're so beautiful. If only you lost a bit of weight, you could be a model. Imagine people saying that to you. Think of it now. You're like, Jeannie Mac.
I get that every day, Annmarie. Every day.
But I'm a very sensitive person anyhow, so I think I internalized a lot of this. No, if it was like me now, I'd be like, sod off. Like,
Yeah.
pass me my popcorn. I'm watching The Real Housewives. Leave me alone. You know?
We love The Real
We
Housewives.
love The Real Housewife.
But
yeah.
it's, I suppose, so this new version of yourself, this new, you know, I mean, I see it like, I've always seen that in you, to be honest, the work that you've always, the way that you've always made me feel, you still make me feel that way. Do you know what I mean? It was always in you, but now you're sending a message and you're helping other people. And, you know, I know there was an event in Cork last year and I know the response to that was phenomenal. And that's from your world.
Yeah.
You know, it was the
It
style.
was very honest.
Yeah.
It was, you know, I talked about my friend who had died. This is shortly before Twitch got greenlit. And after I was diagnosed in September, he was diagnosed in the following October with motor neuron disease.
Okay.
And we knew something was wrong from about April, May, because he had a fall in work and then just things, he knew something was wrong. I kept saying, you know, it could just be a groin strain because, you know, you run a lot, and my mom had a groin strain. And he was like, Annmarie, no, I know it's something, you know, he knew
Yes.
that it was more than we were hoping it wasn't.
Yeah.
If I'm saying that right.
No, you're
Yeah,
completely saying it
hoping
right, but
yeah.
he felt it in his body himself.
So I'll never forget, it was when I got the group text and he told us, and we were hanging on to, he said, you know, some people live 5 up to 15 years with this. And we were like, oh my God, okay, like let's work on, you know, like I was hanging on to that for dear life. And my sister and I think a friend of mine had said, Annmarie, it might be 3 years at most. And it was not even a year and a half. It was the following December. I'm trying to think, I was diagnosed in 2021. He was diagnosed in 2022. And he died in 2024.
Okay.
So
it was 18 months
yeah,
from diagnosis.
Yeah. And he was but then he spent 6 months of those in hospice.
Bless.
Yeah. It was, it went very quickly. It felt like a year and a half anyhow. It was.
Yeah.
And it's motor neuron disease is like Parkinson's on speed.
Yeah.
It's like you know, when you double.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Double it down.
Double down. You double down, you double that again. Yeah. Yeah, it's like he taught me how to be such a good friend. He taught me so much, and I really miss him. And it made me realize that, you know, you've only got one life to live.
Yeah.
And that's why I had to, you know, put the sleeping dragon, kill the sleeping dragon.
But what a gift,
giant.
That book, you know, the book is a gift.
It was like, for me, it's pure honesty, and that's what I wanted to get across to people, is that, you know, it's, everyone will experience the twitch. And I said, you know, whether it's your career or your relationship or your health, something's going to fall apart and all rubble looks the same.
Yeah.
It's our humanity that connects us, and our stories that help us heal. So if this can help one person,
and it,
you know,
every story helps somebody. And I think that's the important thing. I'm a talker, you're a writer, you know, and always that it can do nothing but help.
Yeah.
Because everything that you've learnt and the charities that you work with now, you know, we were out last year and we went for a lovely walk.
Right. Yeah. Parkinson's
for
Island.
Parkinson's Island. You know, you are making it visual. I'm learning from you, you know, and it's not just about Parkinson's. I'm learning from you.
And it's so important because Parkinson's has outrun Alzheimer's as the #1 neurodegenerative disease. And there's, there currently, we believe there are 18,000 people with Parkinson's in Ireland, but there needs to be a proper audit done.
Yes.
There hasn't been one done in a very long time from what I know. And there's probably far more than we know of, and just from my own experience, Sean, people who contact me, especially after when I was on the Tommy Tiernan show, and the Brendan O'Connor show, and also when I came out in my medical coming out story, which was shortly after, like, all that the months of staying in, and then I had the word with myself. I was like, you can't do that. And Vicky, my features editor, director, had said, "Do we'd be honored if you'd share your story." And I trust her so much that I wouldn't have done it for anyone but her,
Yeah.
And I knew she had my back, and she gave me the power of veto up to the last hour, which I didn't, I wouldn't have used anyhow. But I wasn't prepared for the outpour, and in particular from young people who are like, I have it.
Yeah.
And people who weren't. I'm privileged. I have a privilege on my side, namely because the people I work with support me.
Yeah.
Some people are, subject to unconscious bias, and they're afraid to tell people. They hide it. Some people are caretakers for their family, not only for their family, but they might have an elderly parent or a child who's sick.
Yeah.
And you don't want your child to be worried about you, so you keep that. That's an emotional load to hold on to. And I would never expect anyone just to come out of the medical closet, because I did, and start sharing their story. It's not for everyone, but if I can be the voice or the face, and that sometimes is what people need.
We do. And not only are you helping those people, I think you're also helping the people that, have a sister with it, have a brother, have a friend.
Yes.
Because we need to understand it better to help them.
Yeah. I bumped into, and I write about it in the book, I had a podcast with the Irish Examiner, Living Your Best Life. And for each episode, I had someone someone different. I had a carer. I had a nurse. I had myself, which was early onset female, and I had another gentleman who was early onset male. So we kind of covered the as many as we could within the few episodes that we had. So I was standing at the bus stop in Douglas, and this girl comes up to me and she goes, "Are you Annmarie O'Connor?" And I was like, and then some guy turned around and went, "Pfft," like as if to say, I'm like, well, I'm not Beyonce, but like, come on.
Do me a favor, mate.
Do me a favor. Come on. And I said, yes. And she goes, it's so weird. She goes, she goes, "This is my friend. I was just meeting her. I drove up from Ennis to meet her for brunch, and I listened to your podcast. And my mom has Parkinson's." And she says, "I cried all the way up, but tears of joy, because she goes, I never understood what she was going through. Now I do."
See, that's all you need.
And that means so much when people get in contact and say, my brother has it, or I have it, or I feel a bit better.
Yeah, because we want to support the people around us.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't know how to do that.
Yes.
So I just think that is such a beautiful job and a gift to be able to do it. And like you say, it's not for everybody, but I'm so glad that it is for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful way to finish. However, we can't finish just yet, because I have 2 questions to finish with. Oh. The first thing is, what is next for you, Annmarie?
I'm delving more into speaking.
Amazing.
And talking about uncertainty and change from my own perspective, from my own lived experience. We all have a version of what that looks like.
We all have a twitch.
We all have a twitch. But I'm using my voice. So
amazing. Oh, so going to do something with that, Annmarie. So going to do something with that voice. And then finally, obviously, we always have a question from the person previous to you. So just read that out and we'll give it.
What does success mean to you?
Ooh.
It means, that's a great question. It means something different than what it would have meant a couple of years ago. I think it would have been more tangible and material, and there's nothing wrong with that. But success means what gives me comfort and ease. Success has more of a purpose to it.
Yeah.
So long as I'm happy and I'm living where I'm living, because I love where I live, and I'm healthy, I'm able to be the steward of my own health. I take one day at a time because that's all we have.
Yeah.
And Parkinson's teaches you that because it can change by the hour. Success just means, at the end of the day, looking around me and thinking, did you ever get that when you wake up in the morning, you're like, sometimes I like, especially the January, remember it was raining so much, and I wake up quite early. I never used to, but it's because of the medication. And I was having my breakfast, and the lights were just dimmed, and I was looking around my apartment. I love my apartment. And I just went, oh God, I am so happy. And I was just in my robe, and it was pouring rain for all intents and purposes. It could have been a day.
Follow the joy.
I was just happy as a clam. Yeah. I was just like in my M&S robe, having my breakfast in my apartment that I love, and thinking, so glad I'm inside. You know, it's just those moments that catch you off guard. I think
Sometimes we've got to sit still, haven't we, to see them?
Yes.
We're both busy, mad busy people.
Yeah.
Sometimes we've got to sit still and just look around us.
Yeah.
And suck it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, listen, thank you so much for being my second guest. Thank you so much for sharing everything with me today. And I can't wait.
Everything.
TMI. Absolutely. Lovely. We've done everything. We really have, from constipation to periods. It's all in here. But thank you, Annmarie.
Thank you for having me.
So thanks for listening. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this pod, then please like and follow. And pop over to YouTube if you want to watch. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Sian Horn. And lastly, we have some amazing news. All of the BeBelle events are now on bebelle.ie. So if you want to know more about our monthly events, our meetups, and our amazing, amazing retreat coming this September in Portugal, then do head over to the website and we'll see you there.